Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and wow do we have a good one today. So the patch 9.1.5 development notes have gone up, and there is, I actually haven't read all of this because I read the first, little bit, and then I immediately wanted to make this video as rapidly as possible, so let's go through it together. First off, boring stuff. Second off, cooldowns of 2 minutes or longer reset at the start of M plus dungeons and at the end of raid encounters. Very nice for resetting lust and stuff. It doesn't apply to Ankh, which I think it should, but no big deal. Here's the big stuff, though. The following area of effect abilities are no longer maximum target capped and instead deal reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Not in the initial PTR build, but coming later. With the launch of Shadowlands, we reduced the maximum number of targets that several abilities could hit, specifically to address a few gameplay problems related to pulling a large number of enemies in dungeons. Players often refer to these changes as the AoE target cap. Our intention was to reduce the effectiveness of burst AoE buttons against large target counts, while increasing their effectiveness against fewer targets, and communicating that strength clearly in the tooltips. The abilities that remained uncapped were generally the ones that offered lower damage over a longer period of time. And along with changes we set to move away from pull as many enemies as possible, use all your cooldowns and delete this. We've received a lot of feedback that these abilities are not hitting enemies in their range in any way, and it creates a feel problem for WoW combat, but is also an issue for trivial encounters like farming legacy content. For many of the abilities that underwent the change from uncapped to a strict target cap in 9.0, we're converting the damage to reduced damage beyond 5 targets. They will deal full damage against 5, and then reduced to each additional target beyond 5. That means while the overall damage done by the ability increases with the number of targets, the individual damage done to each target will decrease. This solution means the abilities and their relative classes will still have a very strong niche against packs of 4 to 6 enemies, and as always, tuning on this will shift. This is perfect. I know there's going to be some people that still think this is bad, but I honestly, I never had a problem with the philosophy of making some abilities designed for a single target and for AoE and for cleave. The problem was just the hard cap at exactly 5, meaning that pulling a 6th target was literally not a damage increase, and in fact on several weeks, like Bullstring Week, was actively bad to do for your damage. Meant that instead of a risk-reward trade-off, you had a risk-nothing trade-off on those specs. And in practice, what you just did for a lot of high-end content was just not bring those specs unless they were, blatantly overpowered in other situations. So this is a perfectly good solution. The key here is it's not just splitting the damage, right? It's not dealing the same damage split amongst the targets even. It's dealing more total damage, just less extra damage per target beyond the 5th. Perfect. Perfect way to go with this. Look at how it goes and tweak it further, but I'm really glad they could do this. And honestly, I didn't think they would do this in the middle of the expansion, so I'm delighted by this. This was, they had several buttons at Blizzard HQ they could immediately press to make Shadowlands a lot better. The Covenant stuff, Conduit Energy, that's a pretty small change. And then, this thing was one that I actually didn't think they really had available to do in the middle of the expansion, because look at the list of the abilities here. This is just there's so much stuff in here that is getting the old uncap. This is just huge for a lot of these specs as well, right? Like you're thinking about playing Arms Warrior and Key. It's really nice if your Bladestorm, your Dreadnought are able to hit everything that the Flame Patch, the Flame Strike's hitting as well. Notably, these specs are still going to be, a lot of these specs are still going to be pretty focused on their niche amounts of targets, right? Like, it's not like this is going to change Fury Warriors. Fury Warriors still dealing damage the same way to 5 targets like it always did, and I think that is mostly fine, but it's like these abilities, it's going to be really good to have them. It's going to be really good to be able to hit your button and actually have it hit everything that you're next to. Okay, let's go through the rest of the changes here. This is not something I've read to yet, so I'll be forming my opinions on the fly. Shackle and Worthy damage reduced has a 100% chance to spread when triggered. Actually, this is fantastic for this ability. This is going to make Shackle feel way better. The 50% thing felt really bad, so this means that in AoE you'll actually be able to spread this very rapidly and reliably instead of just sometimes. Withering Ground effect increased by 50%. That's the Night Fae blue D&D conduit. And the Venthyr conduit damage went up as well. Okay. Alrighty. Sinful Brand cooldown has been reduced. So this is cool. Sinful Brand was already good, but it was mostly good off of the strength of when you pressed meta and it applied Sinful Brand to everything. I think it's nice to buff how it works the rest of the time. Blind Faith, Kyrian Rune Carving Power. Oh yeah, that's the Kyrian one. Okay, it's going to give Verse and Fury instead of Mastery. Well, Mastery was kind of a potato thing to be getting from this. I still think this power is not really one you'll ever be using, so probably not a big deal there. Dancing with Fate damage effect increased by 650%. All right, what is Dancing with Fate? Let's go investigate this real quick, because 650% is not a number that you usually see in a in something that is at all used. Is this like the Bladedance one? I don't even know. Okay, we'll figure that out later. Let's keep going. 4 new travel form appearances now available. Very cool. I hope Tettles gets his race car appearance. The Well-Honed Instinct conduit is now categorized for all specs. That's good, yeah, just so you can upgrade it with the conduit upgraders on other specs, because everybody uses this thing. Adaptive Swarm jumps from a farther range, jumps to a friendly target if it expires on a friendly target and there are no valid hostile targets within 50 yards. That seems like great quality of life for that ability. Okay, I'm logged in. Let's see what that Demon Hunter conduit is. Dancing with Fate. Yeah, okay, the final slash of Bladedance. All right, so wow, they're really gonna buff this. So maybe there'll be a new like Bladedance build you play in M+ now with all the Bladedance talents as well. Aquilon's Corpse Flies and Grommets are now tameable as pets. Okay. Flayed Shot deals an additional hit of damage when cast. This damage also has a 15% chance to reset the cooldown of Kill Shot. Cool. Yeah, the fact that Flayed Shot wasn't being really played this tier, I don't know. I mean, I guess people already played this for BM and PvP, right? So maybe I don't know enough about Hunter to really have a strong opinion about this. Mage Necrolord Conduit effect increased. Monk Night Fae Conduit effect increased. Okay. Paladin Necrolord damage effect. Necrolord Conduit damage effect. Actually, they've quintupled the damage and halved the healing on that thing. Blessing of Seasons buff here as well, it looks like. Yes, they're buffing spring and winter parts of that blessing. I don't know. Both of the paladins that play Necrolord or Night Fae Holy are going to have to let me know how either of these things function. But actually, you know what? I think it's fantastic to look at these things now that we're moving into a world where you actually can play these things, because having closer second best and third best conduits is now good news rather than bad news for you now that you actually can swap to them, right? It used to be really nice if you had just one that was far and away the best, because you could just play that and not have to worry about swapping. Now you have options. It is actually really good to see them bringing things together. Festering Transfusion Conduit for Priest increased by 100%. Wow, so a common through line of these is they're taking these Covenant conduits and really buffing them. It looks like the ones that aren't really being used as much. And my suspicion is that the end result of this is going to be that they probably want most specs to use their Covenant conduit in at least some, but probably most cases. Divine Star damage increased for Holy, okay. Also for Disc, as well as a buff to Contrition and a buff to Shadow Covenant. All right, good. Disc Priest buffs. That's what needed to happen to that spec. Yep, agreed. Shadow Surrender. Okay, duration increase on Surrender, and Psychic Link deals more damage as well. Okay. Buffs to the Night Fae Rogue and Shaman Kyrian conduits. Impending Catastrophe. I've had the pleasure of playing with Impending Catastrophe. Actually, I randomly selected my Warlock's Covenant, and I landed on Venthyr. The width of the cloud has been increased by 60%, and it deals a tick of its periodic damage on impact, and it applies... Okay, so they're not actually increasing the damage. I guess this does increase the damage, but this thing still needs to do more damage. The problem with this is they made a legendary that scales this thing's damage up by a lot, so if they buff the base damage on this too much, maybe weird stuff happens. I don't know. They buffed Decimating Bolt's cast time, and Scouring Tithe... It says instant here, so maybe they made it instant, and it's... okay, wait. The instant and periodic damage has been increased on it, and its cast time is reduced up to 1.5. I see. And the Kyrian Rune Carving power has also been buffed on it as well. Okay, Warrior. They buffed the Venthyr Conduit. They buffed Merciless Bone Grinder, which is the Whirlwind one, I think. They buffed Hack and Slash. And Sinful Surge is... Okay, it's buffing Avatar. I think it was already buffing Last Stand for Wait, okay, no, this must just be for prot. It's going to increase Avatar's length for prot, because it buffs other things. Okay, yeah, that's because this is in prot. Okay, yeah, reading comprehension. Okay, let's continue. Covenants. Okay, players who reach a high renown threshold will be able to freely swap. Both the covenant switching and use of cosmetic rewards will apply to alts once the renown thresholds reach on one character. Okay, yeah, this was already announced. Conduit energy removed, and conduits will be freely swappable without any restrictions. So that means I'll be able to just go in here and do this, right? And not have to go back to my Forge of Bonds to be able to do that. Just phenomenally good change. Completing the Korthia campaign, or the... Oh, okay, so the Korthia Covenant campaign as well means that you can do all the catch-up. Fantastic. Okay, I thought this was only going to apply to the Shadowlands Covenant campaign, but it's going to apply to Korthia as well. So you don't need to worry about doing the Korthia campaign on your alts either. That will be taken care of by old Blizzard Entertainment for us in the near future. That's great, because this campaign was... Man, the last few steps of this campaign are real long. Completing the Shadowlands campaign on any character allows alternate characters joining the same covenant to unlock their third soulbind. I assume they mean Shadowlands Covenant campaign here. And that's great, yeah, so you don't have to, like, do campaign to get Karain and Dreamweaver and stuff. New Covenant toys to discover, okay. New soul shapes to collect, and critter shapes that you can only use in rested areas. And also a random soul shape. I love the idea of random soul shape, because the thing about something like that is it changes... It means that you kind of have this big incentive to just collect all of them, and then, you know, your random soul shape is shown so many different shapes, so I will probably use this on any characters that I'm playing Night Fae on. That's pretty cool, actually. Maw missions unlocked by maximum adventure level appear more often and are gated by fewer requirements. Okay. I actually kind of wonder... Wait, hang on. Going back to this, I kind of wonder how they're going to handle stuff like soul shapes dropping. Like, I wonder if you have to be in Night Fae for them to drop. If so, I'm going to be in Night Fae all the time that it's not, like, vital, so I can try and collect as many of these things as possible. Because there's not really any alternative for the other covenants, right? Like, nothing is as similar. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I hope they just let these things drop for, like, as long as you've got Night Fae at, you know, unlocked it all and you've ever played it or something. Okay, sorry, going on. Maw missions unlocked by maximum adventure level appear more often and are gated by fewer requirements. Okay, I don't really know what that means. I don't really know what that means yet. Anima Conductor enhancement buffs now persist past daily reset and work as a buff within all non-instance zones in Shadowlands. So that is the Tier 3 Anima Conductor. One of the sites that it can go to lets you go and get like a... Actually, some of them are pretty powerful. 1 hour long buff. And it just means... This is minor, right? It just means that it'll work in Korthia and stuff as well. Not anything important for any actual gameplay. Night Fae Queen's Conservatory. Seeds now stacked to 200. Uncommon quality seeds now reward rare quality seeds. Okay. Redeem Lost Souls. Okay, so this was actually something I was thinking about, because I really hate collecting all 20 of these things every week. And so they've made some quality of life here, which is they've fixed the issue where you're just gated by redeemed souls for 7 weeks to build your sanctum or whatever, by making a repeatable quest for this. But I kind of wish they instead looked at this from the other side of quality of life, which is like, can I click on fewer souls and still finish my quest, maybe? I was thinking they could put, like, double souls or triple souls into some of the elite areas of the Maw instead. And I could just click those and get them in fewer clicks. I don't know. Whatever. Not something I care about too much. Legion Time Walking. Okay, so the event's going to run for 2 weeks. Time Walking Dungeons. All right, so they've selected Blackrock Hold, Eye of Ajara, Darkheart Thicket, Vault of the Wardens, Neltharian's Lair, and Court of Stars. I mean, this is an all-star lineup. These are basically my favorite. These are several of my favorite Legion dungeons. No Maw of Souls, though. The iconic Legion dungeon. And, okay, they've also adjusted all the dungeons for the other Time Walking holidays as well. That's cool. It sometimes gets a little stale, right? Like, you go to, like, several of these old expansions have so many dungeons and only, like, 5 in the Time Walking pool. Okay, Time Walking Keystones. While Legion Time Walking is active, players can get a Time Worn Keystone, max level M+ difficulty for the 6 Legion dungeons. Legion M+ dungeons have their own set of affixes. Okay, so they're not going to put the seasonal in there. Makes sense. Reward loot of the same item level as Shadowlands M+ dungeons. And they can be upgraded with Valor points. And they count towards the Great Vault, but they themselves don't appear in the Great Vault. Interesting. So I'm a little concerned about this because I feel like when we get to Legion Time Walking Week, it's going to be very important to, if there is like a good trinket for you. That's going to be the thing, right? It'll be something we'll investigate, I'm sure, over the next couple weeks, is like which of the trinkets from these dungeons at 246 are going to be worth picking up. And then if they are worth picking up for your spec, you will have that 2-week window to make sure you go and get one. And then you can upgrade it, looks like, anytime later. I'm kind of fine with this. I think that this is probably a good way to handle the M plus time walking loot. It will kind of suck if you miss the time walking. You're just waiting for it for another 3 months though. But I don't really remember any of these dungeons having any trinkets that were that sick. Oh, okay. Yeah, they don't have Arcway in here, so you can't make the 2 set with the Court of Stars and the Arcway pieces. Interesting. Yeah. All right. Legacy loot rules in place for BFA stuff. Prompts to enter into the Time Walking campaign random dungeon queue for all expansions will now occur after 5 minutes in the queue. So this is when you're leveling, you queue for your expansion that you're choosing to level in only, but then after 15 minutes, now 5 minutes, it just puts you in a queue for any dungeon to make the queue shorter. I think they should just let you do this. Like, you should just be able to opt in to queuing for any expansion right from the start, because it'd be faster and it'd be higher variety, but not a big deal. And definitely an improvement. I still think it would be good to just take this down to 1, 0. Island expeditions and war fronts. You're now able to set sail on a normal, heroic, or mythic island expedition alone or with a party of up to 3 players. Yes, so cool. Lowered the amount of players required to queue for normal, Battle for Stromgarde, and Battle for Darkshore warfronts to 5. That's right. We can go back and do warfronts. Unironically, if they gave these things, like, if these things could drop renown, I could see myself going back there and just doing a chill island or 2, a warfront or 2 for some renown. I'm probably not going to do it for a couple expansions, given they're not, though. Items from rewards. Okay, Broken Shore class mount quests. Okay. So they've reduced the amount of work to get your class mount. I see. Show off your complete... Oh, this is a cool one. Okay, we talked about this already when the patch notes were initially... I guess the preview notes were initially out. You can now link a transmog. So, like, if you just go to... Let me get on my transmog mount. If you just go to one of your transmogs, like, you'll be able to, like, shift-click it or something. Or there'll be, like, a link button, and it'll just paste a link into chat that people can click, and it will show them, like, which appearances they have versus need and stuff. So very cool there. New rank of Heirloom gear has been added. All Heirloom gear is now usable in Shadowlands and outside of Threads of Fate. Cool. And they've made scouting maps to instantly explore and grant viable flight paths to your alt. Very cool. Very annoying part. I hope they have this for Shadowlands as well, but even if not, very annoying thing on alts is, like, not having random flight paths. Korthia and the Maw. Fast travel to Perdition Hold and Desmoteron, which is where the raid is, so that's fantastic. Anima Diverter, fantastic, yep, already mentioned. Okay, lower item level gear will now scale to higher item level in PvP than before to reduce the gap, to make it so that if you're, 1,000 rated, you're going to be farmed a little bit less hard just by the gear against higher rated players. You're probably still going to lose, right, because they still have more gear and are better than you, probably, but you will not have to outplay them 7 times to win, right? Just, like, I don't know, once or twice, hopefully. And additional titles and item levels ranks have been added to provide a more granular upgrade path. Very cool. Yeah, some of these, sometimes there's, particularly the 1800 to 2100 grind is, like, a lot of difficulty, and it's nice to add a little intermediate step there. So, seems good. Alternate characters can choose to skip the Maw intro quest. Very cool. Rune Carver. Oh, dude. Okay, so they're just adding full scrapping for all of the Soul Ash and all of the Soul Cinders. That's crazy. That's fantastic. So this will still cost you gold, but it means you can move to a different slot or to a different legendary entirely, or to just different stats as needed by just paying the gold price for the base item. And drop rates have been increased. Okay, so you just don't have to run a dungeon multiple times. Just run it once and you'll get your thing. Torghast daily for experience and Soul Ash in Threads of Fate. Okay, so it's not going to be super spammable for experience. Maybe it'll also give experience randomly, but at least once per day you get experience from Torghast. Seems good. PvP Battlegrounds daily. Okay, so they're just adding some dailies for XP to do different parts of content. I think that's actually really good for having a little bit less of a monotonous leveling experience. They buffed the bonus objectives and made them award renown, so those will actually almost definitely be worth doing. And the zone objectives now reward higher itemable stuff as well. This is good, because usually when you finish the zone objectives and you're like max level, they were still giving like 130 stuff. Newcomer guide system, okay, stuff I don't really know about. Search improvements. Oh, you can share your M+ score and your PvP score with a chat link. Dude, we need a raid score now. Just give us all three. You can set a minimum rating requirement for applicants. I'm fine with this. People are going to complain about this, but I don't know. I think if people want to be selective, they should be allowed to be. And it's, better than forcing people to, like, when you get to a situation where it's like forcing people to accept them without any without being able to screen, then why not just do LFR, right? That's what LFR is. They're adding this kind of instant feedback for when you report somebody and then they get banned or silenced or whatever. This is something that League of Legends does, and apparently it's pretty useful at increasing how people feel, how good people feel about the game's community, and also encouraging people to report more often if they see stuff that is egregious, because it makes them actually feel like it does something. Because oftentimes it really doesn't feel like it does something, especially when you see like the same person still botting 3 months later or whatever. Text-to-speech settings, okay, and voice transcription output. All right, very cool. Yeah, this is going to be the single best patch to ever have been created in the history of World of Warcraft. Obviously, you can deduct some points from Blizzard for the fact that they created all these problems themselves and didn't fix them earlier. They should have done that. They should have not created the problems in the first place. They should have fixed them sooner. They should have fixed them in alpha. They should have fixed them in beta. They should have fixed them in 9.0. They should have fixed them in 9.1. They shouldn't have introduced more problems in 9.1. They shouldn't have made the shard system. But all of that being said, this is still a fantastic set of changes. The game is going to be dramatically better as a result of them. I cannot believe that they have done just everything. I mean, it's the full wish list, basically. Besides shards being a little bit nicer, a little bit more friendly for alts, but, whatever. Allowed to have one bad system. It was really annoying that there were 7 of them before. All right, that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.